Good evening. We found out today, a few hours ago, that the Calexit initiative has been cleared by the California government to collect signatures. So we're making this video to explain what that is, what it means, and why we think it will work. We apologize for the video quality. We're not at the studio today, so we don't have the normal audio video quality and lighting. Apologies. Normally we do a better job, but we need to get this information out. So we're going to do a deep dive. The information's good. Forgive us for the video adjustments. So the Calexit initiative was recently approved. Let me show you a little bit of that. Sorry, So we got an approval from the Department of Justice, Rob Bonta, for 24-001A2 Calexit, the California plebiscite of 2025. That was approved to collect signatures. There's the official letter. This is the official summary. Required future vote on whether California should become an independent country initiative statute. If enacted, this measure places the following question on the November 2028 ballot. Should California leave the United States and become a free and independent country if at least 50% of registered voters participate in the election and at least 55% vote yes? It would constitute a vote of no confidence. It also creates a commission to report on California's viability as an independent country. Those are the two key things. So here's why. You don't have to wait till 2028 or whenever to actually become independent. The initiative is a way to force the California government to do what we want. You don't actually need the initiative. The reason the initiative is important is because of the things that it compels the California government to do. 1, ask for a vote. 2, hold a formal commission investigation. Anybody right now can pick up the phone and call any elected official in Sacramento and demand those things be done right now. If enough Californians called and put pressure on elected officials in Sacramento, they could call for a blue ribbon panel investigation on independence tomorrow, and they could call for a special election with a question on should California leave America tomorrow. Let me show you some proof of that. So here's from the Public Policy Institute of California. The official think tank of California. In California, statewide special elections may be called by the governor, state legislature, or both. And they may be held at any time and for any reason. The legislature can do it and the governor can do it. So there's multiple options. Now, the other thing that it does is creates a blue ribbon panel investigation. Blue ribbon panel investigations can be called by any legislator. So here's an example. This was a plan to make a blue ribbon panel investigation to look into the Mellow Granlund Older Californians Act. So how to deal with elderly Californians and making sure they have nursing homes that are properly done. What a blue ribbon panel investigation does is basically it's an official investigation. So a couple of years ago, they did one on nail salons. People were getting sick. So what they did was they invited health experts, bacteriological experts, nail salon owners, experts in business, and they did an investigation where they interviewed everybody. And they said, well, here's the problem with nail salons and why some women are getting sick. And here's the proposed legislation that we have to enact. The legislature doesn't have to take up the recommendations of the blue ribbon panel, although typically they do. Point here is that anyone can call for the investigation, and it can be done in a matter of months or a year. Here's why that's, I'll get to that in a second, but this is proof. Anybody can call for the investigation. As you can see, it was introduced by one assembly member, and then it had Cooley, Levine, Waldron, and Yamada. 4 extra people had to sign on. So one person could ask for it, and 4 people signed on, and you get a blue ribbon panel. Don't have to have the initiative. Legislators can do it anyways. Here's an example. Aguilar Curry introduces bill to make Clear Ribbon establish blue ribbon committee on Clear Lake. Here's another example. That same one about how they created a blue ribbon panel. Now, the reason why a blue ribbon panel is important is for this reason. Scotland is the marquee example for how to pursue independence for secessionists around the world. And basically, when you talk to Scottish historians or you look at the history of Scottish independence, they all say that the day the Common Commission published their report was the day that Scottish independence became inevitable. The Common Commission was basically a request for the Scottish government to officially look into independence. That's all it is. They called this commission. The Scottish Parliament had to do an investigation. It took months. It reported on its work and it issued a report. Now, not everybody was happy with the report, and there were lots of debates and discussion. But historians date Scottish independence to pre and post that report. So pre that report, Scottish independence was a laughable topic. Only a few people followed it. It wasn't really taken that seriously. After the Common Commission report came out, everybody took Scottish independence seriously. Even critics who weren't for it took it seriously. Basically, when that report came out, it changed the mindset of all Scottish people simply because their government was actually looking into independence, and it published a report and it caused the discussion. It gave the concept of independence in Scotland a lot of gravitas. It made it respectable. It made it responsible. It made it mature. About 5 years after that, they had a vote. So the report didn't make Scotland independent, but it basically changed the mindset of all Scottish people and made them take the topic seriously. And only a few years later, they achieved the first devolution vote and then called for a full secession vote later on. We think the California legislature doing the same thing would have a similar epiphany for the California people. Imagine televised hearings in the Sacramento legislature where they're interviewing professors and international relations scholars and activists for Calexit and federal employees to have an investigation on if California could be independent. The actual California government's looking into it. It's in Sacramento. It's televised. They have hearings for a year. That would be huge. Just think of the psychological impact of that. The initiative makes that happen, but you can call your legislature now and go ahead and make that happen now. You don't have to wait for us. Everybody has that power. Secondly, with the initiative, even if you don't get all the signatures, which we're going for, and you only get 25% of the signatures, the legislature of California has to have a hearing with you in the Sacramento legislature. So even if we only get 1/4 of the signatures, we still get a hearing in Sacramento in the government talking about this officially, a mini Common Commission effect. Huge. Just picture the California government officially has a study investigating independence and its possibility, has to convene legislatures and talks about it for a year. We'd never come back from that. There would be pre and post that. That's the big idea. The other one is the vote. So you need to have a vote to show that people are interested in independence. Now, the vote is not legally binding. That's how we got it into the initiative. It is not legally binding, and voting for yes on this doesn't make California independent. However, it is internationally legally binding. So Catalonia, Spain, had a vote for independence. The Spanish government said, we don't recognize that. You can't do it. They did it anyways, and the entire world recognized that Catalonia, Spain was becoming independent. Once you have a vote of your people and it shows a clear majority want that, whether or not that's recognized by the state of California, the federal government, etc., it still is recognized by the entire global legal community. Basically, after Brexit, you had a precedent set that if you can get only 52% of the vote, it's enough to leave. So it does set an international precedent, and it does announce to the world that California wants to be independent. Imagine that. California is not even independent, but it had a vote, a symbolic, non-legally binding vote, where a majority of Californians said, yeah, we don't have faith in America and we want to leave. Imagine the psychological shockwave. Imagine the dual shockwaves. Californians had a vote, not legally binding, saying they don't have faith in America and they want to leave, and their government officially investigated independence. That is a wildly different reality than we are now today. Here's the roadmap, roughly what you do. You win over 50% of the vote. If California doesn't approve at that time, you wait for another event and then reapply. You file the initiative. Once the initiative is approved by Californians, you can approach Congress and ask for permission to leave. Now, we think that Congress will allow us to leave for a couple reasons. One, secession is legal. A lot of people are going to tell you that it's not. That's a lie. Texas versus White is a Supreme Court case that came after the Civil War and says you can legally secede with consent of the states. Here is Kamala Harris. Here is Javier Becerra, who worked for the Biden administration, and Kathleen Kennelly, and now Rob Bonta. I believe Rob Bonta, at least these three for sure. Every single one of them, as you can see, talks about how Texas versus White is a real court case, and it does say you can secede legally with consent of the states. So that's legal, and three of the highest legal officers in California have confirmed that. Now you need to know about this guy, Erwin Chemerinsky. Erwin Chemerinsky is named the most influential person in legal education in the United States by National Jurist magazine in 2024. He has also taught at the Duke University School of Law. He's the dean at the UC Berkeley School of Law, and he helped establish the UC Irvine School of Law. He's considered one of the most expert opinion people on the Constitution and what's legal in California, and the top constitutional scholar in California. And he said, in theory, because it was a majority vote of Congress to admit California, in theory, a majority vote of Congress could approve secession. The law says you can get the ability to legally leave America with consent of the states, not defined. He's saying, top constitutional scholar, simple majority vote could be all it takes to get out. It doesn't require more than that. Let me show you this. I'm trying to find. This is important because right now, as we pointed out, it's about the investigation and the vote for independence. Anyone can call for those things. You don't have to wait for the panel. You can do it. Catalonia had a non-binding vote for independence. It was ignored by Spain. It didn't matter. Scotland had the Coleman Commission, which is our same as a blue ribbon panel, and that basically made it happen in Scotland. Now, the initiative doesn't make California independent. It sets up the steps that will cause independence psychologically: the commission and the vote. The next step is a representative sent to Congress to ask for permission, which we will get for two reasons. So after Californians have a vote saying we want to leave, not legally binding in America, but internationally legally significant, they can now send a representative to Congress to ask for permission to leave. This is the part that actually allows secession. So let me cover that one more time. This is the part that actually allows secession. When a representative is sent from California to Congress, approach Congress, step one, representative chosen by initiative goes to Congress to ask for permission to leave. If you get consent to the states, you can leave, and it could be a simple majority vote. That's important because Republicans now have a trifecta in government. There's more powerful Republicans in power than there ever has been before. Let's see here. There it is. Republicans win control of the House, cementing a GOP trifecta under Trump. GOP holds on to House majority, clinching trifecta. That means the Republicans now have dominant control of all three branches of government: the Senate, the House, and the presidency. Additionally, the Republicans own a fourth branch of government, the Supreme Court, which is now the most conservative it's been in 90 years. So if you consider the fact that Republicans have a majority and the Supreme Court is a friendly conservative court, we only need about 25 states to make this happen. If California votes to leave, sends a representative, we only need about 25 states in Congress to say, yes, you are allowed to go. That would meet this qualification of Texas versus White, approved by these attorney generals, that says that that could meet consent of the states and meets the definition of the top constitutional scholar. So now is the best time for Calexit because Republicans hate California. Republicans are in a major control of Congress and can vote us out themselves without any Democrats backing it. And Californians now get that this is Trump's America. So let me show you a little bit about that. Now let's talk about how hold on one second, let me fix this. This is the best time. Republicans hate California. We just showed you how Republicans are in control of Congress. They have the trifecta. They have the Supreme Court. That means they have the votes that they need to vote us out by themselves without any Democratic support. Now I'm going to show you why we're sure that we can get those votes from Republicans. They hate us. So we have people dead. We have people homeless. We have people burned down in their homes on the ground. Californians are hurting right now because of the Palisades wildfire. And while we are at our most in peril, Donald Trump says, I don't know if we're going to give you aid. He's not alone. Speaker of the House, Johnson, says, I don't know if I'm going to give you aid either. It's considered unconscionable. A lot of people are asking, what kind of country has countrymen deny aid to other countrymen when they're most in need? Does that sound like America? Hey, you have people dead, homeless, massive disaster. You're in a lot of pain. Let's talk about how maybe we're not going to help you out because we don't like you. President's the first most powerful person. Vice president is the second. Speaker of the House is third person in power. So the first and third most powerful person said, when you're hurting, I don't know if we're going to give you anything because we don't really like you. Think about that. It shouldn't surprise you. Here's a survey from the LA Times earlier last year. 48% of Republicans believe Californians are not really American. Here's another one where it's talking about the same thing. 2/3 of Republicans say the national impact of California has been negative. 58% of Republicans say California's not American. It really upset a lot of people here in California. Yes, they said that half of the Republican Party doesn't think California is American, which explains why you can cut off funds to us when we're the most hurt, something countrymen would never do to fellow countrymen because they don't see us as countrymen. See how these are all related? Goes back even further. I explained this to 5 different reporters. The Republican Party held one of its national conventions on how California is not America. It was the last year of Trump's first term. You have to go back to the 1800s to find where one national party singled out a state as the epitome of everything wrong and bad. They didn't pick New York and Florida and Illinois. They said just California is not America, and let's have an entire convention on that. All right, here you go. So this was covered by LA Times, San Francisco Chronicle. They held a national convention on how we alone are not American. Sacramento Bee 2024, Republicans see bashing California's political weapon. Here's why. 2018, how California became Trump's most hated state. Trump threatens vengeance on California. Should we believe him? That came out recently. Trump hates California so much, he threatened to stop federal aid to wildfire victims. Oh, you hate California? That says more about you than California. This is them talking about the poll of Republicans saying only half of Republicans say California is not American. Republicans love to hate on California at the GOP convention. We just talked about that. So there's a lot of hate for Republicans aimed at California. And that's the key point, that when you're looking at this, Republicans hate California. We just showed you. Republicans are in majority control of Congress. We just showed you, and they can vote us out by themselves. And now the third part, Californians now get that this is Trump's America. This was the thing that we were explaining to a lot of reporters. So this is a video that we released. Let me remove the banner. California is now recognized this is Trump's America. Calexit said this in 2016. In 2016, with the first election of Donald Trump, the Calexit movement said that Trump did represent America. I've explained this to 5 different reporters. And they said, well, why do you think the initiative is going to work this time? In 2016, we were telling people that Trump did represent America. Liberals in California did not want to hear that. No. Trump was put in place by Russia. He's a fluke. He's going to be in prison. He'll go away in a second. A minority of Americans actually support him. They were saying that all over the place. And Californians believed it. He does not represent America. He's a fluke. It's a weird thing. He'll be gone in a second. A foreign power put him in. Anything other than a majority of Americans actually back this guy. We in Calexit were the only people pointing out Hillary only won the popular vote in 2016 by the margin of California alone. So people were saying, well, Hillary beat Trump only by the margin of California alone, which means outside of California, over half of your Americans supported Trump. Nobody wanted to hear that. Fast forward to 2024. We've made 2 videos. This is just the first one. You can find it on our channel, my channel. California's now recognized this is Trump's America. We've done 2 videos, about 20 to 40 minutes worth of footage of liberals saying, oh my God, they voted for this man a second time. After January 6th, I guess this is Trump's America. I really think I have to think closely about what kind of country I'm part of. This is just a smattering of different people online and podcasts and regular people making videos, all liberals saying, what kind of country am I part of? And I really need to think about that. We made 2 videos of that. We had one of our new members make that. And this is the proof. None of these people were where we were at in 2016. Hell no. Trump was a fluke. Russia put him in. Now all these liberals are saying what only we said in 2016. Now all the liberals are saying what only we said in 2016. This is Trump's America, and you need to deal with it. And what does that say about the country you're part of? Republicans hate California. Republicans are in a major control of Congress, can vote us out themselves without any Democratic support. And Californians now get that this is Trump's America. That's major. One of the things that stopped us from actually getting all the signatures and making Calexit happen last time was the resist movement. The resist movement was advertised at the same time as Calexit. And what they said was, you don't need to go through the emotionally wrenching, difficult step of breaking off from America and dealing with the concept that America broke. Trump is a fluke. We can resist him, and then we'll have him removed. And everything in America will snap right back to place. That's what people believed. So while we had 180,000 members, we started to lose them being active in the movement because they became part of the resist movement. It said, you don't have to give up on America. Everything's fine. Everything's going to be just fine. The justice system will get them, and America will snap back into place. Everything's going to be okay. So we weren't able to get all of the people who initially supported us to get out there and help have the conversation about the initiative because they believed in the resist movement. Now the resist movement is dead. Nobody is talking about how Trump's a fluke and he's gone in a second and he doesn't represent America. Now everybody's talking about how he does represent America and they need to think about what kind of country they are. They didn't want to do this in 2016. Now they are. That's why we say now's the best time. Republicans were not in dominant control in 2016. They did hate California just as much. And now Californians get that this is Trump's America. So we're not going to have the opposition Calexit had last time. We were competing with other Californians who said, don't back Calexit, let's resist. We can use the system and we can get them out. No one's saying that anymore. They're saying this is America. Oh my God, what does that mean? Now, maybe some of you are saying, well, that's still too dramatic. We don't need to leave. Well, let me point you out a couple things. So here we go. Pam Bondi has talked about how she wants to deport protesters. So if you came on a student visa and you're coming to America and participating in America, you cannot participate in democracy and you cannot participate in the free right to assemble, freedom of speech. You're not allowed to do that. So you're going to come to this country and we're going to show you that while we say democracy, we don't mean for you. If you say things that we don't like, you do not have freedom of speech and we will deport you and we will have the FBI attack you and investigate you for going to a protest. Yes, she said it. Doesn't stop there. Here's Pete Hegseth. He would not answer the question on if he would gun down protesters if ordered to. So we'll deport you, we'll have the FBI harass you, or we'll gun you down in the streets, protesters. White nationalist and ex-Trump aide Stephen Miller returns. Here's the Hispanic Congressional Caucus talking about how Stephen Miller is a white supremacist. Why is he back? That should say everything. Also, here's one of my favorite. Trump, during the campaign, talked about how he really liked Eisenhower's deportation plan, and it was great, and he wanted to do it even bigger. The official name of Eisenhower's deportation plan was Operation Wetback. That's a racist slur against all Latin people. Trump said he likes the federal program called Operation Wetback. Now, he did not use the term, but all you do is type in Eisenhower deportation plan. It immediately comes up. You mean Operation Wetback? So we're supposed to believe he didn't know it was called Operation Wetback while talking about how it was so great, when anytime you look it up online, they immediately let you know it's called Operation Wetback. Just a coincidence. Here's another coincidence. J.D. Vance's vice president didn't win his election in Ohio until he had a TV commercial asking if you hate Mexicans. A lot of people didn't believe me when I showed this. They're like, no, that didn't happen. Do you hate Mexicans? That's him saying it. Okay? So that happened. Not done. Here's Jason Aldean. Now, Jason Aldean was sitting next to Donald Trump when Donald Trump announced he was going to be the nominee. Who's Jason Aldean? He's the guy that made the country music song called Try That in a Small Town, which accidentally featured the last courthouse to hang a black man dead. Yes, his country song called Try That in a Small Town, which features videos of white people beating up minorities, was accidentally, according to Aldean, filmed in front of the last courthouse. There's about 1,000 courthouses in America. The last one to hang a black man dead, he accidentally filmed his country music video in front of. And here's Trump saying, you and your wife should sit right next to me when I'm accepting my nomination. Maybe it was an accident, but if it was an accident, why did Jason Aldean dress in blackface? Yes, that's him, a little bit earlier. So the guy who dressed in blackface accidentally made a country music video in front of the courthouse where they hung a black man to death. Also, here's Trump saying he wants to go after the enemies within. I have a lot of Republican colleagues I know, and they go, wow, the media took everything he said out of context. He said this. He said enemies within. They said, what are you doing? And he doubled down on it. He also said he wants to be a dictator on day one. Now, I have Republican colleagues. Oh, he didn't mean that. He meant executive orders, etc. But it's people apologizing for him, saying, my interpretation of when he said dictator was he didn't mean dictator. Okay, well, you don't know, right? You're not inside his head. So my interpretation of when he said dictator is he does mean dictator. Here's Elon Musk giving a Nazi salute. And back to Republicans win trifecta control of the House, etc. So I basically showed you how this is the best time to Calexit. Republicans hate California. Republicans are in major control of Congress and the Supreme Court, and they can vote us out on their own, and they've had more power than they ever had. And now Californians get that this is Trump's America. And now they're where Calexit was in 2016. It just took 8 years, but eventually everybody got there. That's the show. That's why we're filing the initiative. That's what we hope to get out of the initiative. It isn't exactly about the initiative. It's about the blue ribbon panel and the vote. And if we can make those things happen, you can go ahead and call your legislature right now, and anybody can call for a special election, and anybody can call for a blue ribbon panel, as we showed you. So it's all there for us to win. This is the best time for Calexit. That's why we say it. Sorry for the lighting and video quality. We weren't at the studio, but we needed to get this out tonight so that you have access. Thank you, and we'll see you soon.